The war in Ukraine. The devastating images now emerging from Mariupol. Tonight, they believe well more than 10,000 are dead. What the images show inside these buildings. And tonight, what the Pentagon now believes the Russians are planning next, focusing on the eastern part of the country, preparing for a major assault. Vladimir Putin putting a new general in charge known as the Butcher of Syria already. New satellite images appear to show a line of Russian tanks and military equipment stretching 8 miles long. The Pentagon confirming Russia's troops are on the move. Ukrainian soldiers in the east using blue tape on makeshift uniforms to identify themselves, digging trenches, preparing for a Russian attack, for what they believe is coming. And those drone images of the buildings, what's left in Mariupol, that theater where hundreds of men, women, and children were sheltering, that was attacked. Tonight, the mayor there estimating more than 10,000 have died in his city. President Zelensky saying the toll could be in the tens of thousands. Our James Longman on the dangers left behind when Russian troops left, what he and our team found in the doorway of a school. That image there outside Kyiv tonight, a possible Russian trap. Tonight, what the U.S. believes is coming and these devastating new images. James Longman leading us off in Kyiv again tonight.
Tonight, the shocking toll on Mariupol becoming all too clear as the Russians ready a new assault on eastern Ukraine. There are tens of thousands of dead in Mariupol after more than 6 weeks of Russian attacks, although it's impossible to know for sure. 4 friends who managed to escape the city recorded the daily horrors in a video diary. They lived in the ruins of buildings to escape the shelling and scavenged for scraps of food in bombed-out supermarkets. One of the friends described the shelling. We were walking and it was everywhere, he said. Over our heads, then behind us. We laid in a ditch to survive. Somehow we managed to survive and escape. Military experts say Russia plans to occupy and control Ukrainian cities like Mariupol along the southeast to create a land bridge with Crimea, which they annexed in 2014. It comes as thousands more Russian troops are massing. This 8-mile-long convoy of military vehicles is heading for Izium and the Donbass, much of these areas already decimated by Russian shelling. The Russian offensive is being led by General Alexander Dvornikov, known as the Butcher of Syria, because he commanded Russian troops there to save the regime of Bashar al-Assad. The campaign gained infamy for the indiscriminate aerial bombardment of civilian areas. While the war in the east enters a new grim phase, outside Kyiv, Brigadier General Valery Embakov's spirits are high.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
His troops beat back Russian forces from the capital. He gave us an exclusive look at how they did it. Right here on this spot, he says, from that farm, our boys used these javelins to do what you now see behind me. He tells us 2 Russian tank columns were headed down this road when his troops ambushed them, stopping the Russian advance.
You're very proud of your victory here.
Yes.
But are you as confident about the war that's starting in the east?
Yes, he says, but Ukraine has different needs now. Ukraine needs more modern weapons, he says. In the first stage, our needs were mostly defensive, anti-tank weapons, anti-air weapons. Now we need heavy offensive weaponry, tanks, planes, artillery systems. More weapons, he says, to stop a repeat of this terrible devastation all around the Kyiv region.
Just imagine what this woman's been through. She's telling us her parents died of COVID 4 days apart last year. And now she's watched their house be destroyed.
As some residents return to the ruins of their homes, new dangers lie in wait.
We've been warned time and again about the possibility of mines and booby traps in this part of Ukraine. Well, we've come across what looks like it could be a trap on the other side of this door. Now, this was a school. It was being used by Russian troops. You see this string. It leads onto the front door there, and there could very well be a trap on the other side of there, a charge waiting to explode.
Ultimately, Russia failed in their objective to take Kyiv, but a Ukrainian victory in the east will be far more difficult.
And James Longman joins us now from the Ukrainian capital tonight. And James, you've been out reporting in these towns outside Kyiv where the Russians have left. And of course, so many civilians dead, buildings wiped away, the real concern over those potential Russian mines that you just showed us there. I know tonight the Pentagon believes the Russians are regrouping. That was the word used by the Pentagon today.
Yeah, that's right, David. The Pentagon has said that they are seeing Russian troops on the move. Some of the units that were here in the Kyiv region went back into Russia, travelled east and then moved back down into Ukraine, into the Donbass region. They're moving artillery units into position there, and that puts more Ukrainian cities deep into this country, right into the firing line. David?
James Longman beginning another week of coverage in Ukraine. James, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.